All right, so let's pick up here with paragraph 10. In a disturbing segment on Hitler's racial utopia, Clay and Liepman describe the practice of eugenics, improving humankind by eliminating undesirable genetic traits and breeding those that were considered superior. The SS soldiers, who are commonly known for forcing the Jews into concentration camps, are mentioned. But this time they are discussed as the same men who were ordered to father white babies with volunteer German and Norwegian mothers. However, it is the final fact, the story of the SS soldiers who occupied surrounding countries and then stole children who looked as if they might further improve the breed, that becomes the focus and ultimate subject matter of the photo. So here she is bringing in some research that might explain what's going on. They might want to take the child. All right, so she's bringing in a possible purpose. Okay, I could easily do a paragraph on the possible purpose with my photo. Or I could come up with another element that I would like to analyze, like the colors. Okay, so in paragraph 11, looking at the photograph in this context, the soldier no longer appears to be protecting the Polish children but hunting them. The word likely in the caption denotes this. Children who possess strong Nordic or Aryan qualities were systematically taken from their native countries, adopted by German parents who were paid by the Nazi regime, taught to forget their families and former lives, and raised to breed not only many children of their own, but above all families that would uphold Nazi ideology. For Hitler and Heinrich Himmler, who was appointed commissar for consolidating German nationhood, exterminating the racially impure was merely preparation. It was the process of breeding and stealing children that Himmler considered central and key in the ultimate goal for racial purification. Obviously, in such a mixture of peoples, there will always be some racially good types. Therefore, I think that it is our duty to take their children with us, to remove them from their environment, if necessary by robbing or stealing them. My aim has always been the same, to attract all the Nordic blood in the world and take it for ourselves. Additionally, Himmler's objective in targeting children rather than adults was a planned and strategic tool. Through teachings at school, children were used to control their parents by being encouraged to report what they did and said. Himmler realized that older people would be less enthusiastic about his ideas, so he made every effort to win the minds of the next generation. Okay, so in paragraph 11, the context changes the tone of the photo. The role of children in racial purification. Y'all, I have not graded those Azalea dying tests. I'm hoping to do it over spring break. Children, it takes a really long time to grade those. Children were encouraged to report the parents. Huh? Okay, so here I'm saying we're mentioning specifics and tying them to history. Okay, I could do that. You know, I could analyze the history of different government shutdowns. Or I could concentrate on another visual aspect of my photo. And in my case, I could choose like negative space, how we have all of this negative space up here. So that's just an idea. All right, so in paragraph 12, what is perhaps most compelling about the Lebensborn experiment, and thus most poignant when viewing the photograph, is the reminder that for every child that was stolen from nations like Poland, his or her family was being equally betrayed. One Polish girl recounted the events of her kidnapping years later, describing both her and her father's reaction to the incident. 3 SS men came into the room and put us up against a wall. They immediately picked out the fair children with blue eyes, 7 altogether, including me. My father, who tried to stop my being taken away, was threatened by the soldiers. They even said he would be taken to a concentration camp, but I have no idea what happened to him later. The girl who spoke above just as easily could have been the young girl being followed by soldiers in the photograph, only moments after she was taken. Such incidents force us to broaden our sense of whom the Nazis victimized. While there is no mistaking the victimization of the Jewish population and other races in Germany, amidst these better-known hate crimes, the Nazis were also perpetrating a horrific exploitation of the so-called white race. All right, so this is the pathos appeal, and it's connecting topic and photo. So pulling the reader in emotionally. Now you can pull the reader in emotionally, you can pull the reader in logically. Okay, and I could do that because I could address American citizens and their unease regarding the shutdown. All right, so our last paragraph. The complexities surrounding this photograph remind us that the story of any photograph is liable to contain ambiguity. As in art, photography relies on the imagination of the viewer. Not knowing provides the viewer with a realm of interesting possibilities. Context matters even with art, and playing with possible context gives a photograph diverse meanings. It is in these various viewpoints that we find pleasure, amusement, fear, or wonder. It is perhaps in this shift to photojournalism that determining a particular context becomes even more important. In fact, even if the original photographer saw the image as artistic, subsequent events compel us to try to see the image of the Polish girl with Nazis as journalism. In this endeavor, we must uncover as much as possible about the surrounding context. As much as we can, we need to know this girl's particular story. Without a name, date, place, or relevant data, this girl would fall even further backwards into the chapters of unrecorded history. So ultimately, she is explaining why looking at the ambiguity of the photograph is important. So her purpose is a call to action. And I could easily do that too. We're all going to have some sort of conclusion where we tie up loose ends and explain our purpose. Our purpose is not merely to analyze this photo, but is to analyze our photo in order to prove or demonstrate something. Okay? Raise your hand if you're still working. Go ahead and get out the next page that I gave you that says photo analysis essay information. Okay, so what we have here, if you will just kind of look along with me, there's a couple of little things that I'm going to point out and a couple of changes that I'm going to make. This is just something to help you guys outline your project and outline your paper. It says, for your photo analysis essay, you are required to write 8 paragraphs. Ayad's essay is broken down by paragraph purpose below. So right here, I have indicated what she has done in each paragraph, like what her purpose for each paragraph is. You are required to complete 4 paragraphs, an introduction, a general overview of visual, the specific analysis of visual, and conclusion. So you're required to do paragraphs 1, 2, 3, and the last one, a conclusion. If you have a caption, you have to reference it somewhere. Other than that, you're picking other areas of analysis, 3 to 4 areas of analysis for your photo. All right? It is your choice where you locate these paragraphs in your essay, with the exception of the introductory paragraphs and the conclusion. The additional 4 paragraphs may have purposes that are similar to Ayad's, or you may choose to determine something more specific. All right, so I've left some white space here for you to jot some notes down. You're also going to have 2 minimum works cited entries. So you have to have paragraph number 1, and this is where you're giving the historical information. You have to have paragraph number 2 where you describe or introduce the photo, and then you have to have paragraph 3 where you give us your claim or your thesis. All right? You can choose to do any of these things or analyze any other elements of photography on a paragraph by paragraph basis. I chose to do peace monument symbolism, the light in that symbolism, the ominous nature of cloud cover. I'm going to address my caption, and then I'm going to provide a conclusion. All right, down here it says your rough draft must be handwritten, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do it in Google Docs. So mark that out and put Google Docs. We're going to have a working document. Your final draft must be typed in MLA format. You will include a works cited page. You're going to have 2 sources minimum. One is going to be the citation for your photo, and one is going to be a source that you have found that gives you additional information about what is going on. And you will need to cite that in your paper as well as on the works cited page. And mine is about the government shutdown, getting up to speed in 20 questions. It's an article I found on CNN. You're going to type it and avoid contractions. And the most important thing is to remember that your purpose is not only to analyze the photo, your purpose is to analyze the photo in order to prove something. You know, for example, Ayad analyzes the photo in order to evaluate a time in history and prove that the perpetrators can also be the victims. She also calls for her reader to, I don't know, I guess to make a relationship and recognize the importance of photojournalism. Okay? So all of this is going to be worth 250-point test grade. So I know it's crazy. So what I want you guys to do right now is if you have not turned in your photo, I want you to get a Chromebook and I want you to do that. If you have turned in your photo, I'm going to pass back a printed copy because I thought it might be beneficial to you to have one that you can actually look at while you type. And I want you to kind of break this down and just brainstorm, what you think you could do in each of these areas. And then tomorrow we're actually going to start writing the paper. Cool?